Hello, everyone. My name is Robert Gregory, and I'm the Public Affairs Director with the Australian Jewish Association. This interview is in honor of the upcoming Jewish Day of Mourning, Tisha B'Av, which commemorates the destruction of the Temple in Jerusalem and many other sad events. We are honored to have Rabbi Yehuda Glick with us to give us an update from Israel. Originally from the United States, Rabbi Glick made Aliyah as a child. He served in the army and then as a Knesset member for the Likud. But he's perhaps best known for his work connected with the Temple Mount, Judaism's holiest site. Until recently, Jews were being arrested just for praying on the Temple Mount, and Rabbi Glick was no exception. Rabbi Glick suffered from wrongful arrests, launched a hunger strike, and in 2014 was the target of an assassination attempt by a Palestinian Arab terrorist who shot him in the chest 4 times. Today, thank God, Rabbi Glick is well and is president of the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, which he will tell us more about shortly. Thank you for joining the AJA, Rabbi. I might start by asking you, what motivated you to become such an advocate for the temple and things connected with the temple?
I've been involved in Temple Mount for several years, as the Temple Mount is sort of the center of the Jewish dream for thousands of years. It is the core of our destiny. The Bible teaches us that God chooses the people of Israel to sanctify his name in the world, to glorify, raise the banner of his name among the nations. The people of Israel are supposed to be a light upon the nation. They're supposed to be, we have a mission, we have an assignment. And our assignment is really to call upon the nations to recognize the one and only God. So for several years, most tourists and Jews who would come to Jerusalem, the peak of their visit would be the Western Wall, which was actually the retaining wall outside the Temple Mount, but it was not where the location of the temple itself. And the Bible and the prophets talk about the Temple Mount as a house, as the center of the faith. And so believers in the Bible who would come to Israel, their peak of their visit should be on top of the mountain, on the Temple Mount. And the wonderful phenomena of the return of the Jewish people back home in the past century and a half, which was called Zion, it puts the word Zion in the center of its goal. And the word Zion is actually the biblical name of the Temple Mount, Zion, my holy mountain, as it is called. So I would say, me personally, I've been involved for the past more than 30 years, trying to encourage people to return to the Temple Mount, and more than that, to change the music on Temple Mount, because unfortunately, today on Temple Mount, we find the music of violence, and we can find music of hatred, and we have to restore the place and make the place holy again. And excuse me, there's a little ambulance driving by right now. The idea is to return Zion to Zionism, to return Zion as the center of Zionism, and to turn Zionism into a global movement where the people of Israel call upon the nations, and call upon the nations to recognize God and his symbol of his presence in this world as the Temple Mount.
What was I mentioned some of your experiences, some of the more negative ones, but what's been your overall experience in advocating for these things?
Well, thank God we see a major 2 decades. If the basic experience was that every time I would come to Temple Mount, I would see a lot of hatred, a lot of harassment, incitement. In the past few years, we've seen a major change. I mean, when I started going up to Temple Mount 30 years ago, we had 100 Jews who would visit the place annually, and this year we've reached the number of 50,000. And so forth, the same thing with the number of tourists. In the beginning of the 2000s, we had maybe 100,000 tourists who would visit Temple Mount annually. In 2018 and 2019, we reached 800,000. Then we had 2 years of COVID, but thank God we're back to getting back to those numbers. We hope to reach 1 million tourists visiting Temple Mount annually. And the concept is not the numbers, the concept is the atmosphere. We want to change the atmosphere, change the music on Temple Mount to be a music of inclusiveness and a music of holiness. We want to make Temple Mount holy again.
And so we've got Tisha B'Av coming up in a few days. Is that, obviously that's the day where we commemorate the destruction of the temple. So is that a particularly significant day for ascending the Temple Mount? What happens in Jerusalem then?
Yes, for sure. We expect thousands of visitors to visit Temple Mount on Tisha B'Av and this upcoming Sunday. We do hope that the authorities are preparing and ready for kind of capacity, and we hope the visits will go by. And we are looking forward to this day as a day that we not only pray that this place should really once again serve as it should be, a center of worship of God.
And it's good to hear the situation's improving, but there obviously still exists some aspects of discrimination. And we see around the world anti-Semites accuse Israel of being apartheid, of discriminating against Arabs. Do you think perhaps maybe the reverse is happening, that Jews face apartheid or discrimination in places like the Temple Mount?
And there's a lot of lack of tolerance towards non-Muslim visitors. But the way to change that is really by encouraging more and more people to come. Unfortunately, today, we see that non-Muslims are not allowed to carry a prayer book or to carry any religious article. And this is something that has to change. And the way to change it is by encouraging more and more people to come and demanding our basic rights, the right to pray, and the right to hold a prayer book, the right to carry a talit, to hold on to other religious items. And that's the demand that we're demanding, that the place should be a house of prayer for all nations, that all nations should be allowed to pray there freely.
Seems very reasonable. So did Moshe Dayan make a mistake in 1967 when he gave the Arabs control of Judaism's holiest site?
I'm master in history, and as a person who studies history, I believe our mission is not to change the history, but to study the history and learn for the future. I think that definitely, I don't want to put a finger on who made a mistake and what mistake, but I definitely think that today, when there's a great request and demand from so many people to change the current situation on Temple Mount, the time has come that the Temple Mount should be a house of prayer for all nations, and that we should make the place holy again, a place of respect between all human beings, and a place of prayer, a place of holiness, a place of honor, and a place that anybody who visits will go through an emotion of getting closer to God and to the love of all human beings.
And turning to Australia, we've recently had a change of government here, and many in the Jewish community, they're concerned the new government won't be as friendly towards Israel. We've already seen some changes in the UN voting. There's talks about recognizing a state of Palestine. Do you have a message for Jewish leaders in Australia about how to advocate on behalf of Israel and on behalf of Jerusalem?
Yes, I think that Jerusalem is the core of the faith of the Jewish people throughout history. Our dream next year in Jerusalem, our prayer for Jerusalem 3 times a day in our prayer, every time we recited the grace after the meal. And this should be reminded to ourselves that Jerusalem is really the core of the whole thing. And therefore, I definitely call upon all of our Jewish friends and supporters in Australia and around the world to strengthen the Jewish existence in Jerusalem and to remove any threat to harm our unity here in Jerusalem. And I think that a Palestinian state would be a very vital danger for the stability of the region, and therefore we have to continue striving to strengthen the state of Israel as a state that serves all the Jewish people around the world, and that the Jewish people wherever they are part of us. We're not doing anybody a favor. And a strong Israel means an Israel that does not stand with a threat, with a pistol to our forehead. And therefore, I think that we should strengthen excuse me. We should strengthen Israel's independence here in the state, our sovereignty over the entire part of the state of Israel. And we shouldn't try any experiments that in the past we've seen have proven to be very dangerous. And once again, I send blessings from Jerusalem to all the Jewish people of Australia. I wish them all to flourish and to be strong. And come to Israel. We're waiting for you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Can you tell us a bit more about your work now with the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation?
Yes, as I said, that we think of visitors to Temple Mount. And we do a lot of teaching of the for Jews and for non-Jews. And the idea of the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation, as you can see in the picture, is to put the temple as a light upon the world. And now that the people of Israel have returned to their homeland, to serve as their mission of in God's name to the world. So this is what we do. We bring groups to Temple Mount. We teach about the Temple Mount, and we teach the Word of God from Jerusalem. And very much involved in one of the major issues in what the Bible teaches us for the preparation for the rebuilding, and that is the care for the orphan and the widow. We've established several centers here in Israel to help and strengthen, because we believe that the strengthening of the national home of God, it goes through strengthening of personal homes who have gone through personal days where Jerusalem is stopping to be isolated and starting to return to its glory. We hope this glory strengthens the peoples of the world, and we start with every individual, including strengthening familyhood and strengthening the connection to God through the house of prayer for all nations.
Right, and last question, do you have any comment on the upcoming election? Will you be running again, or do you have any endorsements to make?
Presently, I'm not running for the present election. Unfortunately, the political system has reached a point which doesn't become very attractive. I think the conversation and dialogue is not something that I feel close to my heart. So I will not be getting involved in this present election. I served for 3 years in the Israeli Knesset. I think it was on, but now I've gone on in life, and right now I think that what I'm doing, both in the Shalom Jerusalem Foundation on Temple Mount and what we're doing with the orphans and the widows, I do hope that this will be the final round of elections here in Israel after we've gone through again and again, and this lack of stability of government is not healthy for us as a society. And I hope we manage to overcome this situation as soon as possible.
Amen. Well, thank you so much for your time, Rabbi. We really appreciate it. What's the best way for us to keep up to date with the work you're doing and to follow your...
You can follow my Facebook page and my Shalom Jerusalem Foundation. You can connect to the shalomjerusalem.org, and you're more than welcome to be partner with what we're doing at shalomjerusalem.org.
Thank you so much, Rabbi.